business. Welcome back to another episode of Small Business Radio Detroit, where we turn barriers into bridges for entrepreneurs and organizations that are creating real change in real communities. I'm super duper geek today. We have a very special guest, someone who truly understands that a roof over your head isn't just it's just the beginning, right? So true stability, true healing really requires a lot of support, compassion, and opportunity. So we'll be sitting down today with Priscilla Appling, founder of Proceed Room and Board, a powerful transitional housing organization that is rooted in the belief that happiness is found in affordable living. So Priscilla is not just providing rooms, right? Anybody can walk in, throw a bag down, sleep for a couple days, and go on about their life. What she's doing is she's providing a space that gives them full wraparound support, right? Helping them to go from survival to stability, from instability to a thriving future. That's really what she's creating. So she built a model that recognizes that every person deserves more than just shelter. They deserve dignity, direction, and a chance to rebuild. So, in today's conversation, we're going to talk about all the unseen realities of running a mission driven business. We'll talk about project management and systems and how critical they are to capacity, how this organization can cost more than money. I mean, really, in this case, it could cost a life. And why processes are the secret weapon for scaling your mission sustainably. So if you've ever wondered what it looks like to turn hard work into hard-hitting lasting impact, this episode is where you need to be, right? We're going to meet you exactly where you are. So we're going to welcome to the mic Miss Priscilla Appling. Let's get into it.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today, Marlo. I really appreciate this.
Yes, definitely. We're super excited. I mean, number one, before we even get started, I want to say this is a very, very touchy industry to be in. I mean, when you think about when someone's calling you, they're in desperation, they're in panic. They're looking for somewhere to essentially lay their head. So, I'm just think we're grateful for you for providing such a valuable resource to the community. Yes, especially our Detroit people. Right now homelessness is at an all-time high in the
Yes,
Metro Detroit
yes,
area.
yes.
You ride around all day and see people sleeping under bridges and so on and so forth. So this is more than needed. This is definitely something that our community cannot do without. So tell me, I want to hear more about you first before we get into the nitty-gritty of Proceed Room and Board. Tell us about, so you're in transitional housing, right? So tell us about your journey into this space. What made you decide to launch Proceed Room and Board?
Wow, that's a huge question. I guess I can start with I've always been into business. I'm one of five in my family, and my parents, my dad's a pastor and everything, which is a form of business behind the scenes. So we were always working, you know what I'm saying? It had an aspect of what it takes to get people to come in. Passing out flyers is essentially the same thing as trying to sell a product. And then my sister opened a dance studio at a really young age. My brother had a home care business. So it was always business, somewhere happening around me, which it did, give that stepping stone
Yes,
to
yes, yes.
to me being able to, just have the aspect of, love, falling in love with business and what it takes to get things off the ground. And for me personally, to be honest, I was in a homeless situation.
Okay.
Years ago, I was living in California for a period of time, and I was, in the shelter system and all that kind of stuff. And, through that, all praises to the Father, I was able to, be, safe and, was able to make it day to day and get a job and get on my feet and get everything together. But in my time that I was in the shelters, I just realized that people really didn't have what they needed beyond the place to lay their head. You needed basic things like, socks, clothes, shoes, even to get a job and need your hair done, feel confident for an interview, just all these different things that I realized like, wow, I feel like I was able to be in a place that I've never imagined that I would be before, but it was for a
Yeah,
purpose. And I
Yes.
feel like that's what brought it full circle. So I had an epiphany one day. I was actually holding my clothes in the Planet Fitness gym. I would take a shower there and I would have my clothes in the locker. And, it just was one of them days where like, I have to get out of this situation. And this is like crazy how I don't have the resources that I need to be able to make this a much faster process. And I
Yes.
told myself that day, one day I'm going to come back and help this community because now that I'm here and really seeing it firsthand, I know what I want to do to be able to be a helping hand. So fast forward, I moved to Detroit, Michigan, and a good sister of mine, very close friend, my partner Frankie, we were chopping it up, just having a inspirational type of conversation like we always do. And she had brought it to my attention that it came up to her about an idea about opening um, like a room and board.
Yes.
And it's a fine line between a room and board and a group home. So a group home is more a medical assistance where maybe the person is unable of moving or they need a lot of medication or they need 24-hour care basically. But then
Yes.
there's the other thin line where if they don't need all of that assistance, then they can be just renting a room and you're able to help more people in that way. So when she said it to me, it was like a light bulb came on in my head, and I'm like,
Yes.
wait a minute.
You're like, hold on, Father. I got it. Give it here.
See what you're talking about. So, we came together and, did the research and, we pulled our resources together and, we was able to open our first home. So yeah, that's how we got started there.
Well, congratulations. And although I won't say that I'm grateful for the experience you had, I'm grateful for the fact that you learn how to turn your pain into purpose, right?
Yeah.
And to come back into the space and try to eliminate those same barriers for others that you experience just shows how deeply rooted and compassionate that you are. Same thing in my business, and before I really started to push my business forward, I went through that homeless period. I feel like for all of us entrepreneurs, we've all
Yeah.
kind of went through some crazy challenging thing in life that made
Absolutely.
us realize there's a problem and I'm here to solve it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so really, really thank you for that. And thinking about solving problems and bringing these people in and the logistics and everything behind that. What's your core mission? Like, what gap are you really trying to fill? I know you mentioned resources, but is there anything additional that you found that you kind of had to address that maybe you didn't expect in the beginning that you're implementing now into your room and board system?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like you mentioned earlier, the phone calls that we get with different demographics of people that needs assistance. I found it not exactly surprising, but I guess the most stunning is the amount of senior care
Yeah.
that and senior citizens that are actually homeless right now.
Yes.
People don't realize that, you retire and everything, but a lot of times the social security that people are getting is between $8 to $1,000, which as we all know can
Right.
nowhere near afford the market rate of what rent is going for, let alone food and clothes and medication and all these other daily expenses that our seniors um are experiencing right now. And it's like, if you don't know, what's happening is, I think it was either in the 50s or 60s, it was the baby booming, where it was more people born in that generation than ever in history. So all of those people now are becoming seniors. So
Yeah.
it's so much senior care that's needed, and a lot of them are having a really hard time with only receiving such a minimum amount. And then you got to think about people with social security. They can only work and make so much money before they
Yeah.
cut social security off, or they don't receive food stamps if they get a little extra security. It's just like it's such a tug and pull and puts them in very, very compromising situations. So I find that area right now is really something that I'm trying to help with the younger people. of course, mother and children, that's always going to be on the top of the list as well. There's so many different situations that mothers with their children, whether it's through divorce or there could be domestic violence, it could be different areas of that sort. But I think between those two, those are my hardest conversations on the phone. Yeah, when I get
Yeah,
those calls, I'm like,
definitely. And I can already just feel, like I said, we talk about being in this field, you have to have compassion because people
oh
will
yeah,
call you, they will be rude, they will because they're frustrated, they're nervous, they're scared. And
yeah,
you definitely have to have a knack for working with clients who are in a place of or in a moment of desperation, right?
right. And I'll
So
tell you, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but I will tell you, speaking of the phone calls, because I get the
yeah,
call all day from different people, and it's like, I be compassionate, but I be honest with them as well, because it's not, Section 8 and all those different, income-based housing programs and stuff like that. This is not 2005 anymore. It's not like
right,
that anymore. A lot
right,
of those programs they will disqualify you first or deny you first before they approve you. So
yes,
a lot of those people that has been living on those type of programs for so long, and then now they either got kicked out or the landlord is no longer allowing or providing that type of work with the government for that.
yeah,
They think they just gonna go out here and find another place for $250, and that's not it. So sometimes I have to be a little rough, like, how old are you? Where you working? You're not working.
right.
So what are you doing? You know what I'm
That's
saying?
the
You
first thing we need
can't.
to address. Hello,
Exactly.
wrap around.
Right? Yeah, I've got to be honest with them sometimes. And I tell them straight up, like, look, it's not like that no more. You can't, first of all, when you call in, they have combined all the organizations together, the homeless shelters, the nonprofits, and all that under one organization for the most part.
Yeah,
And you have to go through that system in order to be sourced out and try to find somewhere
yes.
to
Are
go to.
you
Call
referencing
them.
Cam?
Exactly.
Cam.
Cam.
Yes,
Exactly.
right.
For Detroit, it's Cam.
Yes,
So you call this one number and it hopes that they give you basically a bunch of referrals. And I don't, that's a whole other conversation.
yes,
But the
yes,
thing is like that's a waiting list wherever you go. So you
yes,
have to be working. You can't be 25 years old talking about you not working, but you're looking for a house and you're only trying to pay $75. No.
yes. Definitely, definitely. I agree. And to piggyback on that, like you mentioned, Cam. So I used to date a guy, and he had went through a period of time of homelessness, and he wasn't real good with the logistics. So I had to be the one to kind of look and Google and search
Right, right.
through that cam system. Sometimes it would take a week to get a call back if he would even get a call back. It would be
Yes.
a constant battle. So again, that definitely goes back to the point of how critically necessary it is to
Yeah.
have proceed room and board in this Metro Detroit community. And when you think about that, when you think about the issues on a much larger scale, what kind of vision do you have for proceed room and board in the long term? I know currently you're providing the rooms, you're, handling the logistics of getting them the extra support that they need to get
Mhm.
them stable. So what does your vision look like long term for Proceed?
Yeah, so me and my partner has had this conversation many of the times. I know half of it is we want to be able to have a placement service where we're helping people because because the population is so large, only so many of our homes will be able to fit a certain demographic. So for example, most people in my business, they have either a women's home or a men's home or women with children, and we have some co-ed homes out there as well, or a senior home that's more 24-hour care, things of that sort.
Yeah.
So it comes a time where houses are full and I gotta refer to somewhere else. I'm not just gonna hold you to myself while you're looking for a house. I'm gonna call another landlord or partner that I have that may have an empty space so we can still be able to help that person. So
Yes.
placement is definitely there. And then for myself, kind of wrapping back up when I had that epiphany at Planet Fitness.
Yes.
My long-term goal is to really have like a really all-around resource center type of place
Got-
where whatever it is that that person is trying to do, we help them get there. So if it's a job, if they need a car, if they are need assistance with their children, if they need marriage counseling, sometimes that's a step. I mean, that is always a step that should be taken before you step
yes.
out there. Especially these days, ladies need a man. But But the right man, let me throw that in there too. But yeah, just like an all around resource place, even to the point where I really want to hook up with like beauty salons and clothing places. Because San Francisco was pretty, they were pretty, it was okay when it came to certain things. And I noticed that if like I said, mentioned earlier, if you trying to go to an interview, but you can't get your hair done,
Exactly.
confidence. That hit your confidence there, or you don't have the proper clothes to go to an interview.
Yes.
So a lot of people, they have this, whatever event that happened in their lives that made them be homeless. That's
Yes.
one thing. And then it's like trying to come up from that is
Yes.
where they need that help. So if I could partner with beauty salons and different places like that, to be able to help people in that
Yes.
manner, that is really where I want to go with it, to help build people confidence back up so they can go out and do what it takes to get where they're trying to go.
Yes, definitely. Because I always say, and it's so cliche, but it's so true. It truly does take a village.
Yes,
I've been,
absolutely.
yeah, on even within, so we know it takes a village on the client side. As you can see, there's so many different needs and areas that you have to address to truly help them to get to that next level.
Yes.
But even in entrepreneurship, we know it takes a village because
Okay.
yes, because listen, prior to the craft and pen specializing in project management and proposal writing, we did a lot of work with career coaching, resume writing, those
Right.
kind of things.
Nice.
And one of the things that I specialized in, and even that I specialize in now, were career transitions, right? So really focusing on, well, back then it was, how do I get from one job to the next, right? How do I
Right.
switch from human resources to an instructional designer? What does that look like for me,
Yeah.
right? Creating that roadmap. Same thing for a business when you're trying to transition out of the workforce and into entrepreneurship. And I know yourself, for a while, you were working a full-time job and
Yeah.
still running your business. So when you're thinking about that and thinking about how challenging that was for you, what was it, what one thing or what couple things can you think of that really made it difficult? Because I know I've gotten to points where I'm like, you know what, business just ain't for me. It just you know what, Father, you said go this way, but dang, all these roadblocks, I got whiplash. So
Yeah.
think about going from your main job and other ventures you had going on, when it comes to time management processes, how challenging was that for you?
Oh my goodness. Oh man. I think that right there you hit it on the nose. The time.
Yeah.
I mean, so prior to this, I was working for not prior to this, but that
Yeah.
transition part between trying to just solely be an entrepreneur. I was
Yes.
working for a debt collection company. And hearing those phone calls all day was even honestly even more motivating because, just hearing people going through their financial struggles and, trying to pay everything together. But anyway, yeah, the time, the energy that it takes to work a 9 to 5, especially if it's a thinking job like how that was.
Yes.
By the time I got off work, I didn't want to think about nothing but where my plate was at and my pillow. Okay, plate and pillow. Right? Yeah. Okay, how am I going to do this? And then, like you said, you're right. I already have my business operating at the time when I was working this job, and it was taking so much from me because my industry is in the community. So I needed to go to a lot of places during 9 to 5. It was outreach, events going on, especially during the summertime. In Detroit, they
Yes.
always doing something downtown and having events where you can come and meet other people that's doing the same thing. And I missed out on all of those things because I had to work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So that is that was a main struggle. That was super frustrating not to have the mental capacity that I needed to really put everything towards it like I wanted to. And then also all the time it was taking for me to be able to grow my business like I needed to. So yeah, that was like, it didn't last long. Let's just put it like
Yeah.
that.
Exactly. Listen, I'm telling you, that's one of those fight or flight moments. It's like, listen, Am I going to keep fighting for this thing or am I not? And that's why I say it's so important for entrepreneurs and small businesses to really make sure that when you're going to make that choice to transition out of the workforce and into entrepreneurship, you need to understand that this is no small task. This is not easy. I'm so sick of seeing things online like start your successful business today and file your LLC. Okay, yeah, you're going to get the LLC, the EIN number. You're going to receive it. Yeah, you're going to be excited. You're going to want to tell the world about it. But then what?
Right. Then what? Exactly.
You know, and so and when you're doing it by yourself, and when you don't necessarily have a business management degree, you didn't go to college for this, you just
Right.
had an idea or a passion or a problem you wanted to solve, and you threw yourself out there. And I'm all for going for it, go for it. But we have to be realistic when we think about the project management that it will take, the capacity that you'll have to build in the business,
Yeah.
funding, right? How are you
Yeah.
going to pay for this? Because it's like, okay, I want to transition out of the workforce, but I need the money there to survive until my business starts to make money.
Absolutely.
But how
Absolutely.
can I get my business to start to make money when I don't have the time to invest to get the business to start to make money?
Exactly. Yeah.
So you get caught in between this rock and a hard place. So
Yeah.
I want to move into the real strategy segment of this conversation and really start to talk about building capacity through processes, project management, and funding readiness, right? So when we think about processes or the ways that we manage things from point A to B with our clients, the whole customer experience, even back end things that we have to do, accounting, marketing, schedule,
Yeah.
social media posts, you name it, we're wearing about 25 hats, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
look, I say after being an entrepreneur, you could go work for anybody and do anything and everything.
Exactly. Do that one job.
Yeah. So how do you think when you think about your processes,
Mhm.
right? From where you started to where you are now. What do
Yes.
you consider to be the strong points within your processes that kind of help you to keep things running?
Well, so before I say that, I do want to hit the transition part because that
Yeah,
is really key. When you're
yeah.
transitioning, trying to come out of working the 9 to 5 and starting your entrepreneur career. Because I look, anybody know me? I'm a what they call. I think I heard a
Serial-
like I'm a serial entrepreneur. I got so many things going on. You asked me, I said yeah. That's
Yeah,
how they
no, say no, say no. I'm just kidding.
So, I think that, and I don't even know who made this quote, but proper preparation prevents poor performance.
Yes,
I'm super huge on plan, plan, plan. You have to make a detailed plan. When I'm getting ready to do something new, I like to see it out on paper. I want to write it out because writing
yes,
the physical thing of writing works your brain to be able to think of even more stuff. At least for me, it does. We in a new day and age, but
yeah,
for me, when I write things out, and like we learned back in the day, the what is it, the web, where it's one center, the
yeah,
main topic, and then all these other topics is going
yeah,
around, it, and then you can just like branch off from there. And I think that that is so important because then you can really align and prioritize what it is that you're exactly trying to do so that you don't step out there sooner than you need. Because when I did, I had picked up some side gigs. I'm a hustler. I ain't gonna lie. You know what I'm saying? I was doing Amazon and Uber and
broke, never broke again.
you know what? If I'm gonna quit this job, I gotta set myself up to be able to make this make sense so that I can be able to, continue, of course, paying for my rent and phone and all these different things and be able to maintain myself while I go out and do this. And I did that. I planned it out. I had a goal that I had to reach every single day. I gave myself an ample amount of time to be able to do it and a little cushion room because stuff happens. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
So I did, set that up. So when I made my transition, it was okay. It was okay in regards to I was still able to pay for all of my daily needs and, everything for the basics. So, yeah, so I did want to touch on that part because a lot of people, like you said, think it's just super easy. You just quit your job the next day and you don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? So stack that bread up while you plan how you're going to. And then I would say this last thing is that not only planning your exit, but then also plan your entrance into your job, into your entrepreneur situation. So you should
Yeah.
be thinking likewise, okay, I got my LLC, I got my EIN. What are the steps I'm going to be taking when I no longer have this job? And then treat that entrepreneur career like a 9 to 5. That's the key right there. For the processes and everything that you were saying from the beginning, I had to treat my business, my room and board, as if I was punching in the clock or for a regular job. I have to do, everyone has to do that same thing. At least I believe it's worked for me. Because if slack off or put energy in elsewhere, because I've had those moments as well where I felt like, I done, branched off into this entrepreneur thing, but now I feel like I'm doing everything but working on my business, trying to, so, but you have to hone in and schedule that time. And that's I think, one of the main things for entrepreneurs that can make you or break you if you don't stay committed. Commitment is strong. You got to keep that fire burning. You have to stay committed to hours of time of the day that you're going to work on your business so that you can make it grow. Otherwise, you'll look up 6, 7 months, a year later, and your business in the same place that it was when you quit your job last year. So, my process is now, I think that my struggle in the beginning was the mobility because I get the calls all day, even when I leave the house. I found that, I had papers here, sticky notes all over the car, everywhere, covering the wheelchair, the window sill. But the people calling, you got to get their number, their age, what, if they have any, disability, all these different questions that I have to ask to help them. And I was like, this is just way too much paper all over the place. And I'm getting home and I'm like, okay, what is going on? And it was very frustrating. So yeah, I think the mobility part, I had to set up a system for myself so that when I get on the phone or somebody calls me, I have something on my phone that I can just go to and be able to get those questions answered. And I have my computer and my phone synced. So it's an easy transfer of information that I have between the two so that I can update information. And then, of course, I can always tag team my partner, Frankie. I got to throw her out there because that's my girl. She's been here since day one. And she inspired it all. I do have to, give person flowers when it's due. So, I can tag team with her. And even sometimes we get messages from tenants and they saying something. I'm like, girl, I just take a screenshot. I take a screenshot, I send it to her. I'm like, girl, my brain cannot even think of what to say back to them nicely. Can you please put this in good words? And she
Right.
always come through.
Be my filter, please.
Right? Because I know. But she
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. That's so true. Like you were talking about with that transition, it's like you said, it's important to plan because I always tell people, yes, you definitely want to treat that thing like a 9 to 5. You should be putting if you're not doing anything else, you should be putting at least 40 hours into your business. You talked about scheduling. Scheduling is key. And one thing that I do that I learned as a project manager is to block schedule. So when you block schedule, you're focusing on one particular task for a certain amount of time and allowing yourself to be hyper focused. If you don't have a schedule where you're doing certain things at certain times on certain days, you're never going to know what you're doing. You're going to sit
yeah,
down. It's going to take you 45 minutes just to figure out what you want to work on. And
right.
and then you're not in a routine, so you haven't created a process for that task. So now you're figuring out what's the best way for me to get this done. And by
Yeah,
the time, as soon as you start to get started, now you're getting pulled in another direction. So
absolutely.
scheduling is key, planning is key for that transition, as well as being for real. Like
Yeah.
you gotta stand on it 10 toes. Like when you get out, I'm not saying it's not a time where we may get out there and realize, oh, I might have to pick up something for a little short period of time. Sometimes there's a
Yeah.
little back and forth before you make that full transition. But when I mean stand 10 toes, be sure that mean what you say what you mean,
Yeah.
those commitments, like it's non-negotiable. non-negotiable.
Yeah.
It's really non-negotiable. So that's what I would say, just to add on to that, as well as thinking about your processes, how you were talking about being in the car and getting a phone call. It's like, one way that you know that your business is successful is your business can ultimately run without you. You don't have to be present for the business to keep moving and keep making money. You can
Right.
be somewhere in Hawaii on the beach and you're still making money because
Exactly.
you have built that capacity, you've built that infrastructure, and you've built that trust and credibility with your customer. So
Mhm.
when we talk about project management and we talk about processes, like you said, you're driving, but you don't want to lose the opportunity to capture that customer, because we know when you're interacting with customers, everything's time sensitive. If you're not helping them, guess what? They're hanging up, they're calling someone else. So being urgent and being having that sense of urgency and following up very quickly is key. So for me, the only way I've been able to run this business, the only way I've been able to manage two government contracts and still take clients and still be a mother of two children, um,
Right.
still be heavily involved with my spiritual works and my church, everything, that all the demands that we have, customer relationship management systems were a game changer. If you don't know what those are CRM systems. So when I was
Exactly.
a project manager, I was responsible for putting processes in place, putting procedures together. So it's always been one of my strengths, which has helped me. And that's a point I want to make. Use your strengths that you gained in the workforce to help you run your business, right? Think
Exactly.
about what you did in the past that can help strengthen that. So
Mhm.
if for everyone out here who's watching, if you are a business owner, your wheels are spinning, you're struggling just to keep up with the administrative tasks, and you're not being able to focus on those high level things like you mentioned, like going to networking events or finding new opportunities. We have to get out of the worker bee mentality. That's another thing. When you're transitioning from business to entrepreneurship, you're not just transitioning physically, you're transitioning mentally. You have to stop thinking like at the job, what is it? Let's just see how much I can get done in my shift.
Exactly.
Different. When you're in entrepreneurship, it's not how much I can get done, it's the quality of the things that you're putting in the strategy. So if
Yep.
you're spending 8 hours doing admin and answering emails, you're not finding new opportunities and you're not in a position to really move the company forward. So the
Yep.
CRM will put processes in place. You could generate emails, attach them into automated workflows so that, hey, when you talk to that customer and they say they need something, you've already got a questionnaire created. You send them a link, fill the questionnaire out. When they submit it, their name is automatically saved in the system. The
Mhm.
automation automatically attaches and it automatically emails them for you.
Right.
So when I say processes, 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 I could talk for 10 hours because I'm obsessed with it. I'm like, I got a process. Man, I got a process for opening the refrigerator. One, two, three. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, like project management is literally like a part of everyday life when you think
Yeah.
about who you're going to drop off to school first. If this kid goes to school here and this kid goes there, all that planning and logistics, project
Exactly.
management, we live and breathe it. So didn't mean to go on a tangent there, but I get so excited when I hear when we talk about processes. Hence why that's why I pivoted over to this market in this
Yeah,
industry.
because it's so helpful. It definitely makes a difference. I absolutely agree.
Yes, definitely. So now let's talk capacity, right? So we know processes. When you're a solopreneur or just you and another person, you have to have those things in place to keep things rolling and to be efficient. But when we think about capacity building and we think about what that means in terms of funding and everything else, right? So you're starting off, you're trying to get this thing going. You realize, okay, now I'm at a point where my processes have held me long enough, but excuse me, but now I'm in a position where I want to scale. I want to take this thing to the next level and build a team of people.
Right.
So doing that, A, requires money and it requires time in terms of training, right? Unless this person is just an expert, which 9 or 10 times you can't afford no expert if you're just now hiring your first
Right.
person, unless you've got some big, massive amount of capital for your
Exactly.
business. And we know you got to have good credit or good connections to get those kind of things. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, really, what I'm getting to here is that not only just on a process level can you be stuck, but you can also be stuck in this place where you're trying to build capacity, but you don't necessarily, sorry. Why all the noise? There we go. um, but you don't necessarily have the funding to pay the people to scale or make it to
Yeah.
the next level. But again, that's where processes come in, right? So when you think about how you want to grow or how you want to build capacity in your business, what ideas have you come up with at this point? I mean, is the demand right now for the room and board services at a point where you feel like you need to add more people to the team? And when that comes, and I always, like you said, proper preparation prevents poor performance.
Right.
Even if it's not at that point now, we're gonna prepare like it is because
Exactly.
be ready. I'd rather be ready with in the face of an opportunity to not be ready.
Yeah.
So tell us more about capacity and what your thoughts are behind that. How do you think that systems can help either strengthen or have strengthened your thought processes when it comes to building that capacity in your business?
Yeah, for me, luckily that's one of the real things I really love about room and board compared to a group home. All of our tenants are able-bodied, so they can cook, clean, move around, wash their own clothes and things of that sort. So it's
Mhm.
very, very minimal work that has to happen at each individual home. But if someone comes through and they need additional physical assistance, that's where the capacity growth would come for us. Right now, we are comfortable where we're at. I enjoy having the able-bodied population. It's
Yes.
enough of those people that we're able to help, and then also it allows us to not be stuck at the house because if a person does need constant 24-hour care, like you said, you do have to hire someone. Or I know I have connections with a lot of landlords, and they have house managers that
Okay.
live there with the tenants. But there again, even then you have that owner of the property that's not there. They've made some type of bargain or deal with that particular person, maybe lower
Yes.
their rent and then pay them a little. You know, every landlord has their own deal that they make. But I think that that is where the process come in, where you would need assistance with that. And then even and I'm speaking only for this particular industry. Even with that, you would really only need one person because if that person lives there, they're already there 24 hours. So it's not like you would need a large group of people in order to maintain one house. So in the future down the line, we may pick up more additional like physical assistance where we need
Right.
house managers. And if we go in that route, that's where we would go. We would just need that one contact person to be able to, stay there and do those different works that the people need. But I definitely think that our process may come more so on the back end, where
Yes.
like I mentioned earlier, with the phone calls and the case
Yes.
management and the programs and the events that has to happen and if they need clothes or if they need a job or if they need to be hooked up with mental health assistance, so that's where that comes in at. And that's my main thing that I love is, like I said, I have my phone synced to my computer. So as soon as I walk in the door, I can just flow everything to my computer and then I
Yes.
work it from there. So I use HoneyBook, which you did put me on. Thank you so much.
Yes. You're welcome. Welcome. Look, I'm gonna
Thank
put
you,
the
thank you.
referral link down in the description, y'all. Come get
Right?
this percent off. I'm not a salesperson for HoneyBook.
Yeah,
Okay.
think that that's a perfect platform to be able to really organize individual projects because not only am I getting potential tenants that's calling me, and of course the actual tenants, but then also case managers from different facilities, from hospitals, from nursing homes, from respite centers, from shelters, all different type of programs that some way or another they cross paths with people that need assistance with housing. So that's also another group that I keep up with, and I reach out to them every once in a while, let them know whatever new openings and landlords. That's something more recently that I'm building on as well. A
Yeah,
lot of landlords, so that I can be able to outsource because over time, if you fill your houses up, right, and it's like, okay,
yeah,
well, I don't have any more space, but I still want to be able to help this person. So I went on Facebook and put in, group homes in Michigan, and I just could message everybody like, hey, how you doing? I see you got a group home,
yeah,
if you have any space, let me know. So I was able to make those different connections. But even that is another platform of what you call it, of systems that's needed. Because if I refer someone,
yeah,
I can keep up with an entire timeline. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So
yes.
the person that I connected that landlord to, how much they're going to charge, did it actually go through? I might need to hook that person up with another landlord. So that's an entire 1 to 10 step that, I have processed down to be able to help people in a more efficient manner. Because like you said, once you get off the phone with them, they could potentially call somewhere else and or, unfortunately, not get the help that they need. So
Yes,
yeah.
definitely, definitely. And I love that. I love how you hit on processes as it pertains to physically being at the locations and having the demands of having to physically be on site, processes as it pertains to the back end, your normal day-to-day business functions, right?
Yep.
And processes like you mentioned when it comes to growing your network. I mean, what like we said, credit connections, funding, a
All
lot of
that.
times you can find the answers to your capacity problems in your network. I mean, there is somebody out there that's also a business owner that does something that you need and you do something they need. I'm the barter queen. Hey, let's trade paper. I ain't got no money, but we gonna trade these hands. We gonna trade some labor, okay?
Equivalent to some cash is equivalent.
Exactly.
Because they gonna have to
So
go pay somebody anyway.
yes,
So
yes.
come on.
I really give you a huge kudos for knowing how to leverage your network and to outsource because, like you said, the capacity to manage all those logistical pieces on your own. And imagine if you were trying to be a Jane of all trades and you were trying to also give them job training and you were also trying to, it's
Yeah,
like we have to be strategic. And one thing I wanted to give feedback on for you, I know you mentioned early on in the call that you will consider yourself to be a serialpreneur, right? A serial entrepreneur. And that's although that is amazing, right? You can do a lot of things. Even myself, can I do it? Yeah, I know how to do it. But but is this something that I want to invest my time or resources into, like you said, staying focused and essentially niche down to a certain thing is what keeps you strong, is what helps you sustain. Because when you get into putting your hands in multiple things, guess what? All those things need processes.
yeah,
So,
absolutely,
so
absolutely.
if you're trying to do baking and cooking and fixing cars on the side and doing hair for the prom and doing balloon arches in the summer,
Right?
you know,
That's a lot of different areas.
yes, and on top of processes, you have to market all those things. Every
Mhm.
single service you have has a target customer, a target our audience you need to reach, different channels and ways that you have to get in front of them. So I say if you're a business owner that's watching and you're just starting out and you're starting a business and you're coming out the gate offering 5 or 6 different things, scale it back.
Yeah,
Focus on the things that you know you're excellent at, that you can do very quickly without it taking a lot of time, because you're going to be in it by yourself there for a minute.
yeah,
Um, and looking at things that is going to be like where you don't have to put in as much labor to get the return, right?
exactly. That's key.
So
That's
that
key.
that's a big thing and most importantly, looking at the market. What is the demand? Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, you want to sell pineapple pizzas, but only 10% of the world eat pineapple pizza. It's your job to, oh, you the 10%? Bye. Bye. No, I can't stand
With the banana peppers, I do that.
Look, you heard me say only 10%. Look at me like, I don't like pineapple. Can't nobody else like pineapple on their pizza. But saying all that to say, really, when you have to structure and create a business that you can sustain. Can
Yeah.
you add those things later? Of course you can. When you've built the capacity, when you've got the infrastructure down, when you have standard operating procedures, okay? Because
Mhm.
when you're bringing in new people, if you don't have a full, robust training program for them, you're going to at least at bare minimum need step-by-step instructions.
Yeah.
So SOPs are key too. So I'm just a geek because it seems like you're at a point where you're figuring this thing out. Like you're past
Oh
the stage of sweating and I mean, we all, but I'm perspiring right now. But But it looks like you're over, like you're really smoothing out through your transition. So congrats on that. Um,
Yeah.
I want to talk about some key things that are happening right now with Proceed Room and Board. When you're thinking about the services that you're providing, when you're thinking about that full wraparound support, is there anything special or anything promotional that you have going on right now? Any events or anything that you wanted to announce either to your the clients you hope to serve or even the people you hope to collaborate or connect with?
Yeah, definitely. So that's funny you asked that. I just got off the call with Jasmine. Her name is Jasmine Starr. She's been in the game for a long time, and she's really my mentor and really helped me through a lot of processes and getting me where I'm at today. And I just was speaking with her earlier, and she'll be having an event this summer to be able to bring landlords together and case managers and so that we can just have the network because honestly this particular industry, I don't know, it's one of the things where it's a lot of gatekeeping going on. I'm gonna be honest about it. It's a lot of
Yes.
gatekeeping that happens where you reach out to people and you don't really get full transparency about where to find the people, where to find the case managers, how to price your rooms, and of course there's a lot of everybody's making what is it webinars and stuff where you
Yeah.
pay me $1,000 and I'll tell you exactly how to
How
open
to,
your group
yeah.
home, type of
And you
thing.
can just Google it. Stop and
Exactly. And
but
they
do,
just put it.
do your own research.
Exactly. And a lot of the stuff that they're talking about is super basic. I've, been in seminars myself and paid and or other people purchased it and shared it with me. And I'm like, you could have found all of this, this is basic. You could, so I really appreciate her because she's super transparent, tell all the information and definitely is a big help. So that's something I want to support and push. Don't got a date quite yet, but you know what I'm saying? She just came to me today and I'm like, yes, I'm all on board. Whatever you need, let's do that. Because to meet these people face to face is a lot. Is tremendous because it just helps with being a more comfortable environment. To see others that's doing the same thing that you're doing and hopefully, bring some of those guards down so that we can really be able to help each other. Because I mean it's enough people that need the
Yeah.
help for all of us to be able to help them. So I not really don't understand where the gatekeeping is coming from, but hey, this is
It's
you gotta. It's one of the things.
yeah, it's very disheartening because how dare you gatekeep in a really time sensitive situation.
Yes,
And that's why we created Small Business Radio Detroit podcast is because I don't mind having someone else that also does project management or also does proposal writing to come on and promote their business. If anything, after the call, I'm like, so where you want me to send that partnership agreement to? I am one for coming together. I've never been one to try to down the necks or knock cut someone off at the knees. Um, but
and
it's
I
a lot.
wanted to mention that you had said earlier, you made me think of something my father told me time ago, as far as business is concerned, or just life period, and how we can support other businesses as well as grow our own. Where if I am, let's say I'm a doctor and I have a doctor's office, it's
Yes.
no need for me to go and cut my grass. It's for
Right.
I can hire somebody in my community to cut my grass. Or
Right.
someone, I need my windows washed. I can go somebody in the community and have them, not me scrubbing the windows down, because then we
Exactly.
circulate the money within our own community so that everybody's making money. And then also nobody is really bogged down with trying to do a million different things because they're trying to just hold everything to themselves. And,
Yes.
unfortunately to say that within the African American community, I feel like that's a huge struggle for us where it's like we want to be successful by ourselves.
Right.
Like, I
Yes.
want to be successful alone. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? And what's more successful than seeing your neighbor be equally
Yes.
successful with you, so
Yes.
that you share those struggles and those hardships and those successes and good times with another person. So, like, and I'm sorry to just go on that, but it's just like the whole gatekeeping thing is just, it's foul to me.
Yeah, no, that's key. And that's a key message to leave with entrepreneurs. You cannot do it alone.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many times I have to, if you think that you're going to run a multi-million dollar business by yourself, then
Mm-mm.
you need to just go back to work. Because,
Right.
okay, because
Right.
if you want to do something solo, go to work. And even then, you still have a team. You still have
Exactly.
you report to. You're not in this thing. Like, no business that we've ever worked for has just had one employee.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
It don't
So
work like that.
yes, so I love that. I love that your collaborative spirit, and it's evident that that is why Proceed Room. One of the reasons why Proceed Room and Board is doing so well is because you're not afraid to reach out. You're not afraid to lend a helping hand. And honestly, what we pulled out comes back full circle. So
Exactly.
if you're just taking, there's not going to be much coming your way
On the
anyway.
back
So
end. Nope.
yes,
Mm-mm.
definitely. So we don't want to miss the most important thing. How can people get in touch with you? How do they connect? How do they go through the application process? Tell us a little bit more about your socials and how people can really start to work with you.
Yes, absolutely. So first and foremost, of course, if you are in need of housing or someone you know is in need of housing, you can go to our website, Proceed, and that's with the Proseed, RB.com. So that's like Proceed Room and Board. So proceedrb.com. Reach out there. You can find more information on the website. And then also there's a short form. I try to make it as just simple few little questions because I know that some people is working on the phone, they outside in the middle of the night, their phone about to die. It's just all type of situations, or they using somebody else's phone. They on the computer at the library. It's only 2 minutes left. You know what I'm saying? They just found me. I've been here and done that. So definitely, it's just a few questions to fill it out so we can get to you and through the processes, I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And then, or also you can give us a call directly at 313-284-8128. Those definitely the first two things I want to hit to be able to reach out to the people that we're trying to help. And then also, if you are a landlord or you have property, that's another thing I found as well. There's a lot of people that own property in Detroit that's not doing anything with it. They live in Farmington and they got a house in Detroit and ain't nobody been living in there in 20 years and it's a decent house. They just ain't did nothing with it. They mama gave it to them or whatever the case may be. If you're a landlord and you have additional property and you're looking and you want to be able to help someone and want to know more about how to set that up, I can help you with that as well. If you're a case manager and you have a load of people that needs a place to stay, I love working one-on-one with case managers to help get your members into get your members into a place. So my email is mynewhome@proceedrb.com. So I prefer for the case managers to either call me or email me, and then I always send out flyers and additional information on how we can, help. And then, like I said again, I am well connected with a lot of different landlords, and they're connected with a lot of different landlords. So
Yeah.
I found a nice group of people where we all got a connection where it's like, okay, if you ain't got it, I ain't got it. If I ain't got it, you got it. That whole
Yeah.
thing. Yep, reach out. I'm happy to get you placed. Or if you have a loved one, anything like that, we'll get you together.
Yes, please reach out to her, y'all. This is not, you're not going to regret it. I know Priscilla on a personal level. She's an amazing person, and it translates, and just pours out of her business how much compassion, love, and care that she has for other individuals. So you'll definitely be in good hands at Proceed Room and Board. And now, I gotta throw in a curveball because I'm just not me if I don't, right? So, my question is, if Proceed Room and Board was a person, how would you describe their personality?
Oh wow! Look, so many things just popped in my head, and I'm not good either. Woo, she be bugging. She be
Bugging and helping.
my goodness, wow, that's a huge question. And a lot of it, of course, with this type of industry, it's just the environment of that particular house. I work with men and
Yes.
women. Men is the all men's home. It's a little bit more chill and relaxed. And then again, it's like you just never know what you're gonna get. It's like a box of chocolates because
Yes.
every individual is different and they affect the energy of the home. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Times where we go where everything is cool. You walk in a house, it's all quiet, everybody calm, and then there's other times you walk in a house like, what is going on? Sit down, be quiet. Look,
Right.
I'm the police if you don't calm down. Like it's all types of stuff. It's all types of stuff going on. So yeah, it's very exciting.
Yes.
It's never, I can never know what's gonna happen, which
Yes.
definitely
Yeah.
keeps me on toes.
Yes. Okay. Dog moment at Proceed Room and Board. Yes, this is what we're saying. And that's good. And it honestly, hey, when you think about it on a deeper level, it's a reflection of entrepreneurship itself. So all over the place. But we're gonna get that together because if you're tuning in and you're watching this episode with Priscilla Appling, owner of Proceed Room and Board, and you're thinking in your head, okay, I am trying to make that transition. I need stronger processes too. Remember that strong operations are not just a luxury, guys. It's not something just to say, oh, yeah, I've done that. Like it is a necessity, right? So we specialize here at the Crafted Pen in helping finders like Priscilla go from overwhelmed to completely organized. So if you're needing some project management support, anything you need, definitely don't hesitate to reach out. More importantly, Priscilla, everyone tuning in, you're more than welcome to become a part of the small business community with Small Business Nation based out of Atlanta. Founder is J.R. McNair. They have helped over 47,000 business owners to really create businesses that make money, including me. So when I met JR, I was broke. Okay. I was broke. I had been running my business for 2 years. And I think one year I made $3,000 for the year, not for the
Wow.
month, for the year. And let's just say working with JR within that first year, I more than 20 times that amount.
Nice.
So, with that being said, the proof is in the pudding. I'm here today sitting before you guys being a testament. So, we want to add to that. We want to bring more people into the frame, more people into the work, because this is more than just a podcast. This is really a movement. So we're just thankful so much again, Priscilla, for you coming in and sharing your story. So relatable. So many entrepreneurs can utilize some of the advice and tips that you've given them based on your own experience. But until next time, I just want to say have a wonderful day. I wish nothing but success for Proceed Room and Board. And if anything ever happens again with me, girl, I'll call you. I'll call you.